Tanshe, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to begin. My name is Angie Bruce, and I'm the Vice President Indigenous at the University of Manitoba. The campus we are gathered on today is located on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Inanunuk, Assinunawuk, Dakota Oyate, Dene, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Today is a day that these words in our traditional acknowledgement have significant meaning. It is a day that the University of Manitoba community gathers with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Canada with humility and respect as we speak our truth and own the history of harms we have caused. Today, we are joined by distinguished guests. I would like to honor the Council of Elders, Knowledge Keepers, grandmothers and grandfathers who have been so critical in the work of rematriation here at the university. Grandfather Wambadi Wakita, Elder Norman Mead, Knowledge Keeper Ed Azur, Knowledge Keeper Kim Guimond, Elder Carl Stone, Elder Wanda Joy Murdoch. I'd also like to acknowledge the Respectful Rematriation and Repatriation Ceremony co-chairs for their hand in bringing us here today. Paha Pate Saint-Louis, Lara Rosenoff-Gauvin, Lorena Fontaine, and former member Carrie Miller. I know that the difficult histories and violence to be discussed today are hard to hear for some. For that reason, we do have cultural support workers present in the room, and they will be bringing around medicine if you need them. We also have established a quiet space across the hall, and for those who are joining us on live stream, we've provided contact information at the bottom of the screen for support services should you feel that you need to reach out and speak with someone. Before we start, I ask that everybody silence their cell phones. Today, we open this event to the entire University of Manitoba community, and your presence here and online signifies the importance of the occasion. To start us off, I would like to invite Renee Cable, Minister of Advanced Education and Training, to bring greetings on behalf of the Government of Manitoba.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a true honor to be here on behalf of the Government of Manitoba. I know many members of my government would have wanted to be here today for what is bound to be a very moving and perhaps very difficult occasion. I want to start by acknowledging the ceremony that I was honored to be a part of this morning, and thank everyone who welcomed us and reminded us of our purpose here today. It's important that we listen to truths, even when it's hard. On behalf of the government, I'm honored to bear witness to today's apology and respectful rematriation and repatriation ceremony to return Indigenous ancestors and belongings to their rightful homes with their loved ones in their communities. Several years of reflection, relationship building, and prayer have brought us to this moment, and I thank everyone who was involved, especially the elders, grandmothers, grandfathers, knowledge keepers, and everyone else who was involved and provided guidance and direction along the way. Colonial systems, policies, and attitudes have inflicted and continue to inflict deep pain and harm on First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities. Institutions have a responsibility And we're fortunate to have folks here who are willing to address the past, the harms that continue to happen, and are willing to make change. Today's apology is a commitment to never forget the mistakes of the past and to do better. It's our collective responsibility. We may leave here with more questions than answers. And I think that that's okay. We're having the conversation and we need to continue to have it. Universities are responsible for fostering critical thinking, advancing research, and driving meaningful action. They are spaces for challenging assumptions and promoting social justice and the well-being of communities. I commend the University of Manitoba for taking these responsibilities to heart and for ensuring that they work in collaboration with Indigenous communities on the path to reconciliation. Thank you once again for allowing me to be part of this significant event. And my heartfelt thanks and love to all of you. Our government stands with you in respect and is committed to walking together towards a better future. Miigwech.
Thank you, Minister Cable. Today marks a significant moment in history at the University of Manitoba as we gather to address the profound, important, and sensitivity that goes around rematriation and repatriation. We stand before you to formally acknowledge and accept full responsibility for the university's past action concerning the unjust acquisition and treatment of Indigenous ancestors and their sacred belongings. As an Indigenous woman, this revelation has deeply affected me, as many others share our collective history. The widespread nature of this issue underscores the gravity of today's gathering. Rematriation is not merely the process, it is a step towards healing, as we endeavor to return Indigenous ancestors and belongings previously taken without consent to their rightful descendant communities among the First Nations, Inuit and Métis people. Guided by the wisdom of an Elders' Council who underlined the need of the university to commit to truth-telling, to hold ourselves accountable for the university's role in these historical injustices, and to expedite the return of ancestors and belongings. They also asked us to develop a university-wide policy that would provide a roadmap on how this work would be accomplished and to ensure that the university commits to reframing from this practice in the future. I would now invite Dr. Michael Benarosh, President of the University of Manitoba, to the stage.
Greetings. Before coming here today to speak with you, I had the honor of sitting in a pipe ceremony with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit friends, colleagues and elders, knowledge keepers, grandmothers, and grandfathers. In ceremony, we reflected on the harm and indignity our university has historically caused and inflicted upon the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island. And there was deep pain felt by all. We also reflected on the university's acts of atonement and our hopes for the future going forward. I wanted to take a moment to reflect on my own traditions. In my tradition, we call atonement teshuvah, and teshuvah means to return. It means to acknowledge the truth. It means to ask for forgiveness. It means that you must commit to change and to address the harms that you have done. And it means that you must accept and change in the future. And while we who have transgressed ask for forgiveness, we cannot grant forgiveness. Forgiveness is granted by those who are harmed. And I'll hold myself responsible to that. This university has great respect and gratitude for the leaders who guide the ongoing repatriation and rematriation work. I want to thank our elder council, our knowledge keepers, grandmothers and grandfathers who have been leading us, teaching us how to be in the right relationship with Indigenous peoples. The University of Manitoba recognizes that healing begins with this university apologizing to the people we have profoundly hurt and deeply harmed through our violent actions. It also means changing how we think and act. For most of our history, this university has been in the wrong relationship with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. From our earliest days, starting in the 1890s, founding members of the university desecrated Indigenous graves and mishandled their remains. These actions broke a basic principle of our shared humanity. A loved one buried for eternal rest must remain at peace. Yet, our historical members justified their shameful and degrading behavior in the name of science and education. Over the past 130 years, the university has also accepted stewardship of more Indigenous ancestors and belongings without consent. We use these ancestral remains and belongings in classrooms and in laboratories, and sometimes put them on display, all without consent from First Nation, Inuit, and Métis families, communities, and nations. For generations, colonial mindsets at our university have harmed and caused immense pain to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. For too long, we took, held, and wielded power that was not ours to begin with. We dehumanized Indigenous peoples to justify our behavior and failed to recognize their sovereignty and dignity. The University of Manitoba did not live up to its ideals in their true form. Today, we begin by atoning for these historic failures. We apologize for these past wrongs. We are sorry. I am grateful for the elders, knowledge keepers, grandmothers, and grandfathers that have worked with our university as we come with humility asking for forgiveness. We must earn the trust of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people who have been repeatedly hurt by and historically denied access to our university. We are committed to transforming our institutions so that we can be in right relationship with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We recognize we must change, and we are changing. I see promise in our future as so many in this community have come together to address this university's deeply troubling history. It gives me great hope that we are truly walking this path together. I am grateful that all of you have joined us to witness this apology.
Mark, we'll now have an honor song for the ancestors. I encourage everyone in the room to reflect on what you've just heard, and if you can and are able to stand, please stand. Thank you, Mark. I am now going to be calling on members of the community to respond To start off, on behalf of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, I'd like to call up past Assembly of First Nations National Chief Ovid Mercredi.
Kinenas committee, Mr. Paistego, Inunina Utago Pigan. My community is called Grand Rapids. That's where I was raised. We were and are one of the impacted communities that the president apologized to. I'm not here on my own behalf. I'm actually going to read a speech that our Grand Chief, Kathy Merrick, was going to present, but on the last minute, she was not able to be here. So I was given the task, and being a good little boy that I am, here I am. So I recognize, first of all, everyone that is here, the President, Chancellor, and all the governance people of the university, the administrators, and of course, everybody else that's here, and the First Nations people, the Métis and Inuit people are here. Today marks an important step in the journey towards reconciliation as we gather to witness the public apology that was made today on behalf of the University of Manitoba for its historical related to inappropriate acquisitions and housing of First Nations ancestral remains, burial belongings, and cultural heritage without consent. This apology is a vital step on the path of reconciliation, and it sends a powerful message to the world. It brings with it a sense of reassurance that possibly, with the hearts of all people, the story of our future will be one that is so great that it would possibly begin to try to heal the wounds of the past. For generations, our ancestors' remains and sacred belongings were taken from us, far too often without our knowledge or consent. This caused deep pain and disruption to our way of life, our cultural practices, and our spiritual beliefs. These actions were not only a violation of our rights as fellow human beings, but also a very profound disrespect to us as the original people of these lands, and a dismissal of our spiritual and cultural ways. First Nations people, our cultures, our histories, and our belongings do not belong in museums or universities. Yet, this has been our reality. It's why we are here today. The storied subjugation and separation of First Nations from our lands, languages, our nationhood, our sovereignty, our cultures happens even today. And such disruption attempts to rob us of our inherent right to freely express to the fullest extent our true identity, to be the sole decision makers in who we are as a people, as part of the story of this new country called Canada. This theft of our ancestors is carried out in systems that continue to take our children, and through a curriculum that steals our history or ignores it or tries to sell it back to us with their lens that does not reflect the truth and the real history. The apology we received today from the University of Manitoba is a meaningful acknowledgement of these past wrongs. This apology is a necessary step in the process of healing and moving forward. Recognizing and addressing these historical injustices is essential to the rebuilding of trust and the fostering of respectful relationships that uplifts the truth to a place of comfort. While this apology is significant, it must be followed with ongoing actions and commitments. And I saw the evidence of that, I'm speaking for myself now here at this point, at the ceremony, where it was made very apparent that the communications has to be sound and the participation of the affected communities has to be real, and that there has to be a process established between the university and the communities for matriation and repatriation. I return to the speech. We look forward to our collaboration with the University of Manitoba to ensure the respectful treatment, matriation and repatriation of our ancestors and cultural heritage. Don't worry, I'm almost done. True reconciliation requires sustained effort and dedication from all parties involved. We heard that as well. Because reconciliation goes beyond land acknowledgements and platitudes. It requires an enduring commitment to truth-telling and a fundamental shift in thinking and practice. It means centering the voices of First Nations people, and it requires us to work together because we need to uplift each other. As we stand here today, we do so with hope. Hope that this apology will lead to meaningful changes, greater understanding, and a stronger partnership between the University of Manitoba and the First Nations people. Today and every day from now on, we have a real opportunity to make lasting, impactful change, to be leaders in reconciliation together, with the hope that future generations will learn from these past mistakes and strive to create a world where our cultures, our traditions, our way of life are respected and celebrated. So from this day forward, let's do things as they never have been done before, so that we may get to where we need to be. So I want to thank the President for taking the important step. Thank you to all those who were part of that effort to make this happen. And I conclude as a Grand Chief, you can see I'm not the Grand Chief, towards a future where our First Nations people and our history are honored with truth and respect. Kinanaskimit nao, Gusani, that's the Cross Lake term. Gusani, Grand Rapids just says, Kinanaskimit nao. Thank you.
Thank you, Ovid. I'd now like to ask Chief E.J. Fontaine to speak on behalf of the Southern Chiefs Organization.
Good afternoon, elders, former National Chief Mercury, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be here today to participate in the ceremony on behalf of my community, Saging First Nation, and also the other communities that are members of the Southern Chiefs Organization. Southern Chiefs Organization did play a role in the repatriation of these remains of our people. And I'd like to thank the office for collaborating with the university to accomplish this day today. For the last 150 plus years, our communities and our people have lived under domination by superior culture. And one of the byproducts of that is that our people's remains were taken without our permission and to be used for research, profit, and display. And it's an unfortunate thing that happened because you know, our children and our people learned that our people's remains were not respected by the other side. And so we're happy that the university is giving back these remains to our people, and that they will be then rested in a place to be determined. But just think, for the last how many years that the university had these remains, and there's many other remains out there, our people have not been at rest. The spirits have not been able to rest because they're being used as objects for reasons that were not supported by us. So I want to thank you for everybody for being here this afternoon and honoring the ancestors that we have as part of these remains, and that we always remember that these types of acts don't continue into the future. Miigwech.
I would now like to call the delegates of Hattagwai Nation, led by Hereditary Chief Gothlai.
Hoa. Before I begin, I'd like to ask our elder to say a blessing for the crowd, please.
Good afternoon, all. We'll bow our heads. Repatriation prayer. Sanang itlakadas ayat singedang alkilagan. Creator, we thank you for today. Sanang itlakadas itkunaisi iskan itkan gay koya iskalatlad. Creator, help our ancestors and belongings. Aganani u good kawang. They want to help our ancestors and belongings. They want to go home. University of Manitoba, Talang Alt Tladasan. Help our University of Manitoba friends as well. Gintalang itlat de gui itla estal. Help us do the right thing. Da ut sung, watch over us. Hawadang alkilagan. Thank you. We respectfully ask this of you. Amen. Wow.
How, Ilona. To begin, I'd like to thank the president of the university for his words and his apology. We take it wholeheartedly. We have been on the road of repatriation quite a while, like my colleague will speak to in a little later. We have students from your university taking a semester course on our island. So we got to talk to them before we come out. I was asking the president how long he had our ancestors. He didn't know. According to what we were told, they've been here since late 1800s, early 1900s. So we've had our ancestors for quite a while. And I think it's time that they come home with us. I'd like to thank you for letting them go to us again. We will take them home and put them to rest. Hopefully we can find out where to put them. If not, at least they'll be home on the island. I'd like to thank all of you for attending today. I thank the elders for their ceremony today, allowing us to witness your ceremonies. It's great to see. And I thank you very much. And now let my colleague explain more about the repatriation we have on the island.
Hawa Gatlai, Hawa Leona, Stalk Awas Henedikiang, Dio Hadagang, Dio Odagang, Repatriation Committee Ge Sangulang, Eat Sangulang, Iwangang. We are very honored to be here for to witness the apology today. My name is Dalk Awas. I'm the co-chair of the Haida Repatriation Committee on Haida Gwaii. I am the co-founder of our committee that started 30 years ago. So it was 30 years ago when I was at the Royal BC Museum in Victoria and learnt about that museums even had human remains in their collections. So today when I witnessed so many emotions in the ceremony this morning, I get it. To learn about ancestors being in drawers, in paper bags, in stapled little baggies, it's horrific. It's devastating. And to sit and feel those feelings and to sit and listen to those feelings is a necessary process. I'm a Haida woman, so I know how difficult it is to say sorry. It's also a big step to receive an apology and to genuinely feel that apology and sit in that apology. And to the University of Manitoba, our friends here, thank you so much for taking that step. That is a big, brave step. And it's such an honor. I want to teach you a Haida word, and you can say it after me. Tol yata. Tol yata. It's the act of making things right. To the university and our friends here, you're making things right. You know, to speak those truths today, that couldn't have been easy. I raise my hands to you for that. To everybody who's here to roll up their sleeves and get to work, because now the work really begins. It's not easy to return ancestors, to do all of that work. The university has a lot of work ahead of them. The work of locating, getting your house in order. I speak to that a lot because I used to be I was the inaugural head of the Indigenous department at the Provincial Museum in Victoria. And I really wanted that institution to make things right. And part of that is to get the house in order, get the team together to do the paperwork, to reach out to the nations, to understand what repatriation is, to make the apology. So I'm really looking forward to learning about the work that you're going to do ahead of you. I had this big speech ready. I didn't even look at it. So we've been repatriating our ancestors since I went back as a girl in my 20s. I thought I could go home and tell chief and council, you have work to do. It was the grandmothers, my late mother, Auntie Leona. She is the last of our elder advisor that was on our committee. We were surrounded by all of these amazing grandmothers. And they were the ones who told me, Lucy, you have work to do. And they were right. You know, I felt the calling to help my ancestors. And to anybody in this room that is feeling that calling to do something about this, do the work. Don't be afraid to do this work. It will change your life. So being a part of repatriation has brought me to so much more than just paying respect to my ancestors. It's really helped me with my own learning and understanding and love of all things Haida. And it's really helped in my work to help with go home. So I really do encourage you to step into that brave, beautiful work. When I worked at the Royal BC Museum, to be witnessing an apology, to be called to come and get our ancestors. It's happening a lot. So to the rest of you who may not be so involved in repatriation, you can be. It's everybody's right and responsibility to make things right and to show respect to ancestors, to be a part of reconciliation. So you may go home and talk to your families and see if maybe there are some skeletons in your closet, literally. We've had people mailing anonymous remains back because their so-and-so ancestor found them, but they found them on Haida Gwaii, so they would anonymously mail them back. So things like that can happen if you ask your families, is there anything, do you have anything Indigenous or anything that probably doesn't belong to our family? We can all do our best to be lobbying the politicians, to be lobbying for a national repatriation legislation, for national funding for Indigenous communities to be doing the repatriation work, for museums and universities to be doing that work. We're all so underfunded, but this is absolutely necessary work that we all need to do. So we can all take a part in that work. So tomorrow, we take home 4 of our ancestors from this institution, and it's not easy work. It never gets easier to be handling the bones of our ancestors. So I do ask for your good thoughts, your prayers, and think of us as we do the difficult work tomorrow. And I want to, again, raise my hands to the university for the good work that you are doing and that you're going to do. I'll be watching, and I'm going to bring this message back. I'm a PhD candidate at Simon Fraser University, and I reached out to see, has this university made an apology? And I checked my mail this morning, and I still haven't had a very good response. So I hope that SFU is listening and will follow suit. So congratulations to you on taking this big, bold step. Dalang Athkil Laga.
Grand Chief Garrison Settee is on his way. He's just running a little bit late in traffic, so I am going to, I'll call him when he gets here, but I am going to turn it over to the Honourable Mary Jane McCollum, Parliament of Canada Senator, to say a few words.
Thank you. Tansin tutimak. Ninanas kumau kitimantu, kitami wanskayan anuts. Kitami gaskitayan tapagidatamuyan. Igosti tawapamitago, o tagapi mamuwapichika. I thank Creator for the privilege of waking another day, and for the ability to draw breath once again, and to be able to see all the people that are gathered here today. And I want to thank the people that did the ceremony. It was needed. Thank you for giving me the privilege of speaking at this sacred ceremony. Who we are and what we do is the product of all the events and people who helped shape us. First and foremost, this includes the Creator and our ancestors. Each of us are stepping into a space that our ancestors established for us through deliberate and meaningful actions and sacrifices, spaces to dream and to be. Because they were and they did, we are. That is why stolen body remains are such a violent affront when looking at the essence of our ancestors' sacrifices. And the word sacrifice means to make sacred. And when our people were going through such a hard time centuries ago, they still held 7 generations. They fought so that we could be here today. At a time when they should have found peace and comfort, they have been left wandering. I want to thank the university and all the people involved in the sacred work, starting the process of repatriation and rematriation of human remains and sacred belongings. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, hard work, and dedication to make this long-awaited process a reality. Thank you for understanding the racism behind the plunder of what is sacred. Although this plunder was perpetuated in the institutional forum more than 100 years ago, the fact that you are making the effort and investment to give back what was never the institution and to bring about the changes that are needed is commendable. These honorable motives enable the possibility for new discourse and new norms, free of oppression and racism, and the building of relationship with all the communities. It is crucial now to take aim at the institutional racism, and it's systemic. So it's the systems like health, education, child welfare, and the structures that uphold the racism. It's the policies, the laws. It's now critical to take aim at the institutional determinants that represent the root causes of such racism. In doing so, we create a socially relevant grounding for change. It is equally crucial to reframe bodies, including remains, as the sacred space we occupy our entire lives, including when we are buried. We are now in an era of race relations in Canada where it is accepted that First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and non-status people cannot and should not be treated as second-class citizens. This prevailing mistreatment represented a barrier that kept our people from participating meaningfully in our own traditions, owning our bodies, and including the proper burials which will allow for proper grieving. This long-existing barrier was so insidious that it once allowed me to accept that stolen remains were the norm. And when you have been in residential school for 11 years from the age of 5 and you're brainwashed, you come out thinking this is normal. And that it's accepted by the citizens of this country. Nitipidemison means I belong to myself. From birth to the moment I leave Earth to go to the spirit world, we always had the right to bury our own in a timely manner. And I apologize for the people that have had to go through this. And I will offer prayers this evening. And I just wanted to let you know that I can work with you in Senate to look at how we can, how Senate can help to right this wrong. See? Okay, thank you so much.
I'd now like to call Grand Chief Garrison Settee to speak on behalf of Manitoba, Kiwetinowe, Ogimaganuk.
Tanse, Tutemak, Itsanak, Nuagumaganak, Asusimininiten, Pedutianuta, Kitsige Gonuti. Isitsiganiwag nanaskomao ksemantu apesiguaguta taguskewinaut negatege kitaminostaniwagi meskanao mina wanisitsigewina egoskostaniwagi naspisiminiten. This afternoon, on behalf of the MKO nations that I represent, I feel very privileged and honored to be able to come and share a few thoughts on what I feel is very important and very critical. Our people have been on a long journey of recovery from the damages done by colonization, assimilation, and the residential school experience. We have been subjected to many atrocities, a lot of harm, a lot of damage. But I'm thankful as a people that we are here to accept an apology from institutions that has contributed to much of this harm. And this is a process where we can begin to heal as nations. Our ancestors have long awaited for a process where we can start the journey of healing, that we can be restored to the powerful nations we once were, and getting back the dignity that is ours when it was so brutally taken from us. I celebrate the fact that we can stand here as Indigenous people and still hold our head up high in spite of all that has happened to us. This is a testament of who we are as a people. We are strong, we are resilient, and we are powerful nations to this day. You have never taken that from us, and you'll never take it from us. I'm very proud to be who we are. So I want to say on behalf of the MKO First Nations, I want to thank everyone that has been part of this process. And we at MKO have been working on a process to be able to repatriate our ancestors, but also to have legislations and policies changed to be able to have these sites protected. In the United States, there are laws that protect sites where our ancestors and our artifacts lay in property of institutions that should not have these. So we're here on a journey, and I think that this day forward, we're going to see changes in the Indigenous communities. You're going to see us thriving, we're going to see us prospering, because we're beginning to heal, and this is our time. This is our moment. Hi, hi.
Our final speakers I'm going to call are our students. So our social work student, Amari Dion Hart, and a graduate student, Savannah Moon. Please come to the stage.
Hi everyone. Nipi Mikanak Esqueo Natisnakasin, Mikanak Nadodam. My name is Savannah Moon. My family roots are in St. Peter's, Peguis, and Winnipeg, Manitoba. I am truly honored and humbled to be here before you, and I am so grateful to everyone who has made this day a reality. Thank you to our Elders Council, our Working Circle, our Anthropology Repatriation Committee. I'm a master's student here at the University of Manitoba, and my thesis has been based on the rematriation and repatriation of Indigenous ancestors held here. This path for me was not born from nothing, and looking back on the past 10 years since I first became a student, I understand why I am standing here today. When I first became a student in 2013 at just 18 years old, one of the very first things I heard from other students when I got on campus was something to the effect of, "Did you hear they got Indian bones in here?" Nobody whispered about this shocking truth. It was an open secret. It was something that our own professors acknowledged in our classrooms, but said that there was nothing they could do. I say these troubling things out loud so that you know that it happened, and that you can bear witness to what an Indigenous student first learned from a university institution when she walked through these doors. It was that these violences are happening right now in our generation, and that policies in heritage-holding institutions were interested in making sure that these violences stayed alive for the next generations. People involved in heritage-holding and educational institutions have been afraid and hesitant to broach this topic, and they have been worried that this may make things explosive and divisive. Harms and violences could be acknowledged but never addressed. Through our past inaction, we teach our students, who go on to become our next professors, our administrators, our curators, our researchers, our laboratory supervisors, our department heads, our policymakers, to continue believing that this was not something that would be possible in our lifetimes, that having our ancestors stored in cardboard boxes was not only considered acceptable and professional conduct, but that heritage-holding institutions were built on denying basic humanity and dignity. That's what I thought 10 years ago, but that's not what I see before me today. Our ancestors are now in handmade cedar boxes, lovingly placed in a resting room, covered with colored fabrics, adorned by paintings, smelling of sacred medicines, waiting to be returned to their communities and descendants. Today marks a recognition that has taught everyone that change is possible. Our fears for the future only become true if we do not try. You must not be afraid to start these conversations. You must not be afraid to change your policies. You must not hesitate to do better by, with, and for First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. You must not be afraid to do better for your students and by our mother, the earth, Turtle Island, our homeland that we call Canada. To see now that my community, professors, fellow colleagues and students, and now my university have challenged an old vision of the future, and that we have done it hand in hand with our elders and descendant communities. It tells me that we don't have to be afraid anymore. When we have brave spaces with courageous conversations and allow the truth to come out, we can work together towards a reconciled future. Because of the courage, perseverance, and dedication of many Indigenous and non-Indigenous people and allies, we can bring our ancestors home. Ekosani, miigwech.
Hello, my name's Amara Dion Hart. I'm from Sioux Valley Dakota Nation, and I'm a social work student here at the University of Manitoba. I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today and be able to come speak and share some of my feelings and thoughts collecting throughout the day. I want to say thank you coming from a first-generation university student here at the University of Manitoba. There's oftentimes when I walk on campus, you can feel the multi-layers that are here put against us. We as First Nations, Métis, and Inuit students, we know that this institution was not here for us, but yet we come on campus every day. As we walk, As a social work student, a lot of my passion comes for our youth. And I think that as we go forward, we need to acknowledge the youth here on campus that venture here every day and they put themselves out there, knowing that there's so many layers against us. And I think that the University of Manitoba needs to honor and acknowledge that. And when we know that this institution was not created with us in mind, but we know that we come here every day hoping to make a change for our future. And when I learned of the continued layers that lie below me here on campus, of our ancestors, below the classes that I go to every day, just the amount of disrespect and heartbreak on all levels of my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual being. But then we continue to go to make a change, and we continue to pursue our studies. And I sometimes feel like we're walking through a storm with a small umbrella. But then when we look back at that storm, we know that it took more than one person or party at play for it to be created. And then we know that it's been more than my time here of my own. And it's going to take more than myself to go through it. And looking ahead, I have hope that our ancestors will be brought home. And I have hope that the University of Manitoba will follow through with their words with action. And so nothing like this will ever happen again. And I know on my sides going forward, I have my ancestors walking with me. And yeah, thank you for having me here. Mitaku eoas.
Thank you, everyone. We've heard very powerful words today, and I want to thank each of you for sharing. Today is an important day for truth-telling, but truth-telling is not enough. The university is also taking concrete action to ensure that this doesn't happen again and to make things right. Today, the Respectful Rematriation and Repatriation Ceremony policy comes into effect. The policy involves returning Indigenous ancestors and belongings that were taken and or held by the University of Manitoba without proper consent of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis descendant communities. The rematriation, repatriation, and ceremonies involved will be led by descendant communities and supported by the University of Manitoba. This policy is only possible because of the hard work of dozens of Indigenous scholars, Indigenous community members, and our allies. I know this is just one step on a long walk. There is still so much work to be done, and the University of Manitoba is committed to walking in right relationship with Indigenous people. Thank you so much for attending and for witnessing today's apology. Chimikwich.